you. Thank you, Amel. Hello, welcome to my session. Perhaps we can switch to the screen? Yeah, thank you. So I'm inviting you to elevate tactical or your tactical or your implementation of tactical patterns through Object Calisthenics. Let me present myself. My name is Dorra. Dorra Bartaguiz. I'm VP Tech at Arola and co-author and illustrator of a French book called Software Craft at Juno Editions with Cyril, Arnaud, Fabien, and Oussam. And I had several roles in the past as a developer, architect, coach, trainer, and as a teacher also at an engineer school. And Arola is a consulting company in France. We are also a training center, and we are even in France locally, but we go through over the world to help our clients. So, I guess you heard about those DDD tactical patterns. Who heard about that? Yeah, sure. You are in the right place. So during my session, coaching session, my coaches are always asking me this question: how we can ensure DDD tactical patterns are well implemented. So the question or the response for this question, we will let us use a set of constraints aligns with effective patterns implementation, which called Object Calisthenics. Did you heard about these rules before or no? Okay, few persons. So the calisthenics is referring to a street workout. So it comes from Greek kalos and stenos, which means beauty and courage. And it's the art of training our bodybuilding without any material. Jeff Bay used this term to enumerate or to identify 9 rules, which are here. And I will not present them in this order, but after several experimentation, and especially in a legacy context, I suggest you to try to implement them in another order, which is this one. So first, wrap all primitives and strings. Second one, first class collection. Don't abbreviate. No getter, setter, or properties. Do not one dot per line. Don't use the else keyword. Only one level of indentation per method. Keep all entities small, and no classes with more than 2 instance variables. So let's throw those rules to find how they help our tactical pattern implementations. Okay? First rule, wrap all primitives and strings. What this rule means really, and why we need to respect it? The answer is because the use of primitives, and I guess you know, for complex concepts make the code less understandable, like this example. Without dedicating structure, we can have some errors, like we can replace a value which is the rate by an amount because they are the same type, for example, because they are both are double. Repeatable logic also, we can sometimes can be, yes, we can scatter it through the application and lead the code duplication through the legacy or the code. And operating on primitives for complex type can hinder the ability to extend functionality. So that's why we need to implement, or we need to respect this rule. And the goal, the main goal, is identifying business concepts and domain language. Okay. So when we introduce the value objects, here I present some kind of steps of refactoring. So we can transform the double to a value object, like amount and the rate. And we will find that the multiply method, which was static, can be moved to the amount class. So here we are moving some behaviors inside the class themselves. So this rule of wrap all primitives and strings can help us to identify and secure our domain concepts. Okay? Next rule is first class collection. Let me ask you a question. What is the plural of cow? Cows. Yeah, exactly. But the plural of cow is cows, you're right. But it's cattle when we are referring or using to refer to a group of cows collectively. It's same for house and neighbor. While the plural of house is houses, a collection of houses in an area is called neighborhood. Sorry. Same thing for sheep and fleet. Are you okay? Yeah. So ask your domain expert if there is any nouns for collective or plural forms and which are not directly to their singular counterparts. That means that if you have a cow, ask for what is the plural of cow, which is cows, but in that context, how you call it, okay? And let me show you an example. Let's imagine this service period calculator that merges some contiguous periods. In this case, we have we can identify two smells. The first one is same type as an input and output. And the second one, that this method can be static because it's not using any external dependency or field. And these two smells can show you or can help you to say, okay, perhaps this method is not in the right place. And for this kind of behavior, you can create the first class collection, which is periods. Perhaps the noun is not really periods, and we need to ask the domain expert if it's really periods or perhaps another noun. But now the code become easier to read because we have at one hand no parameter of the method, and we encapsulate the behavior inside a class. So this rule enriched the business language and we have a rich model after applying this rule. Next rule, don't abbreviate, because the abbreviation can hide the intention and the original business concept. Okay. I will ask you a question. Everybody know what is ETA? Yes? Exactly, estimated time of arrival. Everybody knows this until the day you work for emergency services. Probably, or for a teaching, for training also, which is educational technology assessment. So for many domain or for different domain, we can have the same acronym or abbreviation, which can be completely different. So don't abbreviate, and instead of using the abbreviation ETA, try to at least use time of arrival if you consider that the estimated time of arrival is too huge to write. So this rule explicits your domain concepts also, and you will bring more knowledge to your colleague, newcomers, for example, in the project. Next rule, no getter, setter, or property. So let's have a look on this code. We have the rate, and here we need to have a getter to have some value of the value of the rate. And we need it to do another behavior somewhere else, okay? The disadvantages or drawbacks of separating data and behavior are several, are multiple. We have the consequence of that is having an anemic domain model. That means that you have just some structure with data, fields, and getter and setter, and the behavior is or are in some services in another part. You have a lack of immutability and a higher coupling between all the classes in the code. And keep in mind the tell, don't ask principle. That means that instead of getting the value, bring the behavior inside the object itself. So in this case, moving the behavior into the rate instead of getting the value. So we have the method multiply in the rate itself. This rule secures your domain concept. And by this way, moving the behavior inside your classes, or it can be the entity or a value object or an aggregate. But by this way, you introduce the domain language in your code. And you enforce the transposition of your domain language in your code. And by the way, you cannot perform some other behavior, which are illogical actions, like multiplying two amounts or adding an amount to a rate. So this rule secures your domain concept and transpose the domain language in your code. Next one dot per line. This rule is similar to the previous. It illustrates the law of Demeter. So don't talk to strangers, only talk to intermediate friends. And it illustrates same thing because instead of having amount.currency.equal to, we can have amount has same currency perhaps. So don't be like the Tom Thumb, we call him le petit poucet in French, scattering bread crumbs to find your way back, and it's eaten by other animals. So use a fluent interface, so try to find the real name of the behavior. What are you doing? Ask your domain expert what is the behavior expected behind that. And the idea is to enrich or to get a rich model. Okay? Next rule, don't use the else keyword. This is a hard one, yeah. Because this kind of method, everyone at least one time write an else keyword in his code or her code. This kind of method is not easy to read, really. And the consequence of that is the code is not maintainable. And we need perhaps to understand the steps of the code of the different instructions to understand it. And using a else keyword means that you are implementing the arrow anti-pattern we see the arrow graphically in the code. So removing the else keyword means that you return early, and the code becomes more linear and more easy to read. And remember or keep in mind that the faster you can fail, so you can return outside of the method, the faster you can succeed. And the code become more readable and maintainable. So this rule, in my point of view, invites you to design differently. Perhaps you can use the strategy pattern instead, or a null object pattern in some cases. So really try to use or try to apply this rule, and you will see the code will be completely different. Next rule, only one level of indentation per method. Keep in mind that one level of indentation is one more level of indentation is one more cyclomatic complexity at least, so minimum. That means that the code naturally, if you have many indentation, the code becomes more complex. And instead of having a huge method, you can split it into little ones, and extracting those method will help or encourage you to choose nouns for those method. So that means that you need to perhaps discuss with your expert to find out which kind of behavior you are implementing. So this rule explicits the intention, enrich your model, use the domain language, or enforce you to use it, to use the domain vocabulary. Next one, keep all entities small. Because keeping the entities small allows us to compose them and create big things, like Lego. Okay. And as Scott Flashin said, that's the power of composition. So keep all your entities in the code small. I see some smiles. Yeah, we have a class with 2,000 lines. That's fine. Yeah, don't forget also the aggregate. Jane told about that just before the lunch. So keep your entities, but even your aggregates, and they need to be also small. So you need to clarify the domain invariant, okay? I often tell the story of Cyril in the Paris metro. His son asked him this question: do we all have to be together to board the metro at the same time? In this case, the little boy is right, yeah? All the family should be at the same moment in the platform, and the same moment should be in the metro. That means that they should not leave any member of the family on the platform. That's okay? That means that all the family is an aggregate, okay? But Vogue Vernon invite us not to trust every use case. That means that you need to ask, even if this invariant is true always, you need to ask, what if we leave an adult alone? In that case, the answer would be, well, yes, it's okay. So the invariant is not really the same. It's not having all the family together, but no child alone. And that's different. So you need to perhaps try to identify the real invariant of your domain, and you need to clarify what is really the environment identified. So this rule, in my point of view, help us to identify or find the invariant correctly, and so to reduce the size of your aggregates and entities and so on. Next rule, and the last rule, is no class with more than 2 instance variables. On the power plant maintenance project, we had a period object which has 3 fields: date or start date, end date, and the value. And we asked, what is this value? Why we have a value in a period? It's logic to have a period with a value, and what is this value really? And we asked the expert, and we found that the value was the rate, the power plant shutdown rate. So it would be better to extract or to separate the 2 concepts, so the period, which is just the start date and the end date, and the rated period, which have the rate instead of just the value. And perhaps also apply the rule number 3, wrap primitives and strings, and to create really the value object rate. Another example is the payoff. So here we have 5 fields. Sometimes we should perhaps be pragmatic, because the class at least can have really 3 instance variables instead of 2. But whatever, 3 fields, it's better than 5, okay? So try to really identify different concepts and create value objects for them. But be careful, because don't think only structure and data, and think behavior. In some cases, we will have the performance with the play, start date, end date, and nature. And in some cases, we have the play and start date used in reservation behaviors and the others. So in that case, we can perhaps separate the performance. Oh, we have a problem with the screen. No, that's fine. Oh, no. It's just that slide. That's fine. So the idea is to separate the class into 3 classes. You don't see them, but theater session, nature, and the performance. So this rule helps us or encourages us to discover and learn more about the domain language to have a better design. At the end, we consider that all these rules encourage and explicit the domain language, and that's our DDD obsession. So we have just 9 simple and stupid rules that work. So use them, and you will see the consequence. For my coaches, I created an Xmind containing questions to ask them themselves if they are well implementing patterns. So the idea, if you want to find the file, I joined the link. You can consider that Object Calisthenics is the better implementation, or helps and is a way to better implementation of your tactical patterns. So enjoy your calisthenic journey, And I'm waiting for your feedback. So don't hesitate to connect with me on LinkedIn or other social media. And thank you.